Over the last 3 years, I've been fortunate enough to experience and be involved with a lot of local farmers and also enjoy a lot of the local foods we eat. But I come across daily a few really important questions. What food sources should we trust the most? You know, whether it's children's on school trips, teachers, parents, people's in the restaurants, Homegrown Foods, customers of ours. What food source should we trust the most? Why do so many of us think that imported food is best? What is with this mindset that we have in Hong Kong? Every five-star hotel that we go to prides itself on the freshest Italian tomatoes, or the best, you know, the best, whatever the best produce is from America or from Italy. And I had a particular experience that really crystallized this for me, eating at a five-star luxury hotel in Hong Kong, a new Italian restaurant with limited vegetarian options. I asked for a tomato salad. And what arrived, I was pleasantly surprised, was this beautiful tomato salad. These tomatoes actually were in the salad, tomatoes that I handle every day myself in my businesses, tomatoes that I recognize to be local, organic tomatoes grown with passion and care and love by all of our local farmers on our local farms here in Hong Kong. So I said to delight with the waiter, wow, really? Local organic tomatoes? I can't believe it. Come on, which farm did you get these from? And he said, oh, no, sir. No, these tomatoes arrive every day from Italy fresh. And I thought, okay, all right, fine, you know. And so I really had to step back, and it really brought it home to me, you know, why is it that we're so embarrassed and we're so ashamed of the food that we produce? And why is it that we trust food producers that we can't see? So I think it's important first to let's take a look and learn a little bit about the city that we live in and that I love so much. The Nomura Food Vulnerability Index ranks 80 countries around the world in terms of their vulnerability to prices. Let's see how Hong Kong stacks up. Okay. One is the worst, by the way. Pakistan, Libya, Kenya. Philippines. Not bad. For all of our glitz and glamour, for all of our wealth, for all of our prestige, for all of our braggadociousness, here we are, sitting at number 9, the 9th most vulnerable territory in the world. Should we see at least who's number 1? Oh, we're closely followed by the Sudan, Sri Lanka, Egypt, Lebanon, and the winner is Bangladesh. Oh, our biggest competitor. We've heard a lot about them today. And you know, a wonderful city nation. My wife is Singaporean. We have a few Singaporeans here in the crowd. City half our size. I think probably half our land, although I'm not sure. Ranking 49th. The city that we compete for talent for, the city that is definitely going to be our biggest competitor over the next couple of years, ranked 49th. We spend 4.4% of our GDP importing food, higher than any other country or region on the index. What if half of it was spent on innovating local agriculture? We rely on 95% of our food supply is imported. 44% of that comes from the US, China, and Brazil. 51% from the rest of the world. So why are we so afraid of the food we grow? What's the big deal about the food that's in our backyard? Why are we so scared? 51% of food producers in China has failed food safety inspections in the country. Note, it's actually not that much worse than the United States. Tougher measures have had little effect amid an official culture of secrecy. Even McDonald's and Carrefour cannot escape selling expired chicken products. China prompts the government to choke press freedoms. But 10 years ago, would we be reading about these things? It says the government is hiding these things, but the press is still looking at it. We're still reading about it in places like Hong Kong. You know, to me, as scary as these things are, it still shows that there's hope and these things are coming to light. Milk, we're all familiar with melamine scandals, and today we still find stashes of this melamine-tainted milk formula around China. Today, still. Pork. I myself have visited pork farms. They're pretty interesting places. It takes me a while to go back to eating pork when you see a conventional pork farm. I've seen clenbuterol injected pigs, injected in the necks. I would avoid pork neck when eating locally. And it would be like comparing Arnold Schwarzenegger to Porky Pig. It really is quite a big difference. Clenbuterol, an antibiotic that's used in, it's an antibiotic, it's used in pork to lean them, to make them less fatty, which, as I was told by the producer, is how local tastes prefer. Glow-in-the-dark pork, a new low. Cooking oil. I go to China often. One of my favorite places to eat is on the street. I've definitely had a lot more than 10 meals on the streets there. Apparently 1 in 10 are from dredged sewer oil. Ah, and there's the artisanal production now. Even the innocent watermelons cannot escape the fury of growth accelerators. What happened to these watermelons? I mean, after they've exploded. What did we do with them? We fed them to pigs. Eggs. I was convinced the cheapest way to produce an egg was the old-fashioned way, with a chicken. But apparently when people are incentivized properly, they can do anything. Oh, a rubber egg that bounces 20 centimeters, more akin to a children's toy than food. 10,000 people a year are poisoned to death by pesticide residues in food. That's 27 people per day in China. 27 people per day. So if not China, if not ourselves, who? America? The breadbasket of the world. Is it? Our guiding light, our example to the rest of the world. America, the example to the developing world. USAID spreads fertilizers, pesticides, herbicides, and teaches the rest of the world how to grow food the most efficiently way as possible. Are they really any better? Is this a safer place to buy our food? According to the Environmental Protection Agency and the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, I really appreciate this information, they were so nice to give us. Of the 25 most commonly used agricultural pesticides, 5 are toxic to the nervous system, 17 cause genetic damage, 10 are harmful to reproductive organs, 6 disrupt normal functions of hormones, 18 are harmful to the skin, eyes, and lungs, half are comprised of cancer-causing chemicals. 70 to 90% of the 12 most commonly eaten fruit and vegetables are still contaminated after washing and peeling. Are those American tomatoes you buy at City Super for 60 bucks a bundle really worth it? It tastes like nothing? Are they really that much safer than the ones that you're buying from China? Antibiotics. To me, flu pandemics, one of the greatest challenges that humanity faces over the next 100 years. We're all familiar with the terms bird flu, swine flu. According to the New York Times, the overuse of antibiotics increases the likelihood of antibiotic-resistant pathogens. We create the scenarios that we live in. Pig flu, bird flu, it's been around for millennia. It's not a new disease. It's only become so virulent with the advent of factory farming. Around 80% of antibiotics manufactured in the United States are given to animals, healthy animals. These antibiotics are used as preventative measures and are used as steroids. The mutation of bacteria and antibiotic resistance creates the threat of flu pandemics. We create hotbeds for evolution of these pathogens inside these factory farms when we're pumping our animals filled with antibiotics that we may ourselves someday need to fight off a pandemic. My favorite part about the American industry, it's self-regulated. It is the American way. 1 in 6 Americans get sick. 128,000 hospital, 3,000 die of foodborne diseases. An industry that's supported by illegal migrant workers that are not paid human wages, are not given the same benefits that the rest of Americans are given. No wonder the cost of those conventional foods are so cheap. What if they had to pay them fair wages? And chicken feet, one of our favorite delicacies in Hong Kong, right? Who would know that most come from the United States? Okay, the chicken feet, unfortunately no one in the United States eats chicken feet, so they're lopped off before the bird goes through the inspection processes. So they get to miss a lot of the important, well, what there is of an inspection process, they miss. That photo, tell me that photo couldn't be in China today. That photo is in the southern United States. It's a new photo. It's a photo of agricultural runoff into the Gulf of Mexico. Today there are more than 400 dead zones that are growing around the globe. The number has doubled every decade. A dead zone is an area in the ocean where nothing lives. There's totally deprived of oxygen, and it's completely the result of agricultural runoff. Today there are 400, they double every decade. What will our oceans look like when our grandchildren are alive? Where will they be able to swim? What if you lived in the Gulf of Mexico? Every time we buy tomatoes from these places, from Florida over here in Hong Kong, we're continuing to support this. So what do we do? Where do we go? We're not growing it in Hong Kong, we can't trust China, we can't trust America. Why trust out of sight more than what's in our backyard? Let's see what's in our backyard right now. Smiling faces. Today there are 2,500 farms in Hong Kong, 4,600 farms and workers. Organic farming was officially established in 1988 with just 10 organic farms, and I have the fortunate experience of knowing some of the original organic farmers. By 2000, the AFCD launched a conversion scheme, converting a lot of conventional farms into organic farmings, and today they brag that there are 408 organic farms. It's quite a big increase. 45 tons per day are produced, 10% of which is organic. 57% of live poultry consumed in Hong Kong is still produced in Hong Kong. Yes, this is conventional food, but I show you this today because as small and as fledgling as our local industry is, there is still an industry to hold on to if we as consumers and as industries support. 241 million in crops, 284 million in livestock, it's mostly pork, 280 million in poultry production. Small, fledgling, yes, but still alive. It's still there for us to take care of. What's in it for the industry? Why, as an industry, why should hotels retool their purchasing departments? Why should chefs relearn how to use seasonal ingredients? Why should we learn how to use things that disappear every 2 weeks or 3 weeks? Why should we have to go through all of that work? Well, for a city that prides itself on its competitiveness, its differentiation, a better tasting, better quality product that is uniquely Hong Kong is a strong, unique selling point for our city and industry. A proactive and innovative industry posture, committed to seasonality, forces our hands creatively and spurs culinary competition and drives standards higher. And perhaps one of the things that I personally missed most in this city is a community built around local food, something that we are completely starved of. A vision for the city that I love. One of the biggest challenges to organic farmers today is the cost of inputs. The government wants to build incinerators instead of coming up with composting programs. Organic composting programs is one of the single biggest ways that we as a city can improve our local food scene. Giving our farmers cheaper inputs to produce great food for us is really helpful. A city that prides itself on its diverse culinary landscape, rich with unique ingredients. See, forcing ourselves to eat seasonally and eat locally forces us to be more creative. It forces us to work with what we have. It forces chefs to meet with farmers, encourages them to grow new varieties, and to discover new wild kinds of weeds and herbs and berries and all kinds of things that we didn't even know that we could use in cooking. It forces us to do those things. We constantly evolve in a local-based food industry. Constantly evolving. Right now, coming from a food and beverage background, I feel like Hong Kong, to be honest, up until the last 2 or 3 years, was one of the stalest industries I have ever been a part of. We buy cherry tomatoes from one of 4 suppliers. I don't know if anyone else has ever noticed when you go to an international restaurant, those ubiquitous little red cherry tomatoes that taste like nothing on the side of your plate with that same ubiquitous arugula. I don't know, but I'm pretty tired of it. It's a food industry that constantly evolves because the inherent qualities of a thriving, locally based food culture, not just a food culture built from one of 4 distributors. A city that rejuvenates its land and reverses the damage its pollution has caused. I spend so much time in the new territories. I see all of this agricultural land that's zoned for agricultural purposes that the government doesn't even list on our websites. And you know what this land is being used for? Recycling plants, container yards. Organic farming can help reverse that if our government maintains the zoning. A food system, and perhaps this is most important, that's accountable to its citizens and that produces nourishment for us and the environment. Accountability. You only have it with local-based food systems. It is impossible to have it in international centralized food systems. A tourism industry that supports its farming industry and a hotel industry that innovates with eco-lodging or farm hotels to showcase Hong Kong through a different perspective. Teach people new ways of traveling, new ways of living. A food and beverage community that reflects Hong Kong's stature as an independent global player, not just a global follower subjected to global food price pressures. A city where visitors pay top dollar to eat locally grown delicacies instead of paying top dollar to eat food that comes from their own countries of origin. Who goes to Italy to eat choy sum from Hong Kong? Except for maybe, somebody said earlier, mainland tourists, like Chinese restaurants. Grow your own food. I know of hotels today that are growing their own food. I've heard of beehives on balconies. All industry, everybody in the industry should be thinking this way. This is the future. If you're in food and beverage, if you're in accommodation, this is a way to differentiate yourself. This is the way to ensure that you have the freshest ingredients, and also keeping your costs down. There are so many underused places at hotels, it is ridiculous in this city. So many beautiful, green, grassed places where guests and visitors never venture to. And to me, one of the most important things as a community, create a complete nourishing relationship between farm, restaurant, and us that protects our natural landscape and preserves our heritage for generations. In closing, as scary as our local food sources are today, running from them is not the answer. Running away from local food sources into the open clutches of a centralized and out-of-sight producers ensures we the people are subjected to volatile, unsafe, and a disconnected relationship with our food. That is what we are guaranteed. That is what I know. Contrary to the human emotions to run from what frightens us and the urge to ignore what we feel we cannot change, embracing decentralized local food sources will increase accountability and quality for consumers, businesses, and government because of their intimate proximity with each other. And only through that intimate proximity can we ensure quality and accountability. Thank you very much.